Welcome to Feminized. It's time for a show that turns the spotlight on the powerful women shaping cannabis culture. The cannabis industry is on fire and women are sparking it up. If you like the show, please subscribe. You can also subscribe to the Feminized podcast with Liz Grow on YouTube and Instagram. The future is feminized. Happy Women's Day. So today's guest, well, her reputation truly precedes her. And let me tell you, she's every bit as awesome as you'd expect. Meet Nichole West, someone I've admired for a very long time. A shero, if you will. So before cannabis came a brief stint in real estate and marketing. And Nichole literally failed her way into becoming one of the real pioneers of this industry in California and therefore in the nation. And she blesses us with over an hour of that realness. Thank you, Nichole. So I'm gonna read her whole bio because it really matters. Nichole is a business, agriculture, and efficiency specialist with over 12 years in the cannabis industry, dating back to her first certificate of occupancy issued for her in California-based dispensary in 2009. She's worked for large marketing companies like WeedMaps.com and Rosebud Magazine, as well as some of the largest plant-touching cannabis businesses in the nation. Nichole has had success in 45 plus cannabis business applications, and she's opened 20 retail locations in 4 states. She's overseen as many as 400 employees at one time. So in the way of cultivation, Nichole has helped scale over 150,000 square feet of cultivation at a time, and a total of over 50,000 square feet for different small businesses around the US. She's the director of operations for LB Atlantis, which is a full-scale distribution, manufacturing, and retail delivery business that services the entire state of California. And she's a senior advisor for private equity investment firm where she performs due diligence on businesses seeking funding. Nichole's also co-producer of the State of Cannabis News Hour. This is an amazing show that happens at 9 a.m. every day on Clubhouse, and it's also on Apple Podcasts and everywhere else you find your podcast, so be sure to subscribe to that. That was a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the true Cannabis Queen, Miss Nichole West. Hey, sis. You're now listening to the Feminized podcast. Hey, oh my gosh. I'm so thrilled to be just chatting with you, honestly. Podcast aside, I've been a huge fan for a very, very long time.
Thank you. You're amazing.
Well, you know, you're one of the ones who you've made your name early and you keep fighting and you don't stop fighting. And that's the cool thing about you, Nichole. Like straight up, like that's just the thing that I noticed early on. And even before Clubhouse, you know, I'd followed you. And then when I started listening to you on Clubhouse at State of Cannabis News Hour, it's just like, this bitch bad, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I love it. Yeah, I'm really looking the purpose of this podcast is really to inspire other women to try, whether it's to try cannabis or try to get in the cannabis industry or what, I don't know. But the men have the platform, the men have the stage all the time. And so Feminized is just about the ladies.
I love it. That's really amazing. Actually, I've been doing a lot of, as much as I can, at least, outreach to try to do mentorship for women. I will work with men, but I charge them.
Yes. That's why you're such a badass. It makes so much sense. I mean, look at where the money's flowing, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, I'm down to still help, you know what I mean? Like I'm not opposed. And if a man's willing to reach out and be like, hey, will you do some mentorship training with me on this? I'm just like, yeah, that's pretty big of you to even be willing to ask for it. But I think it's been my favorite part of this industry is being able to look at other, you know, women that I've worked with in the past. Like she's become one of my closest friends, is one of the GMs now of a chain in Colorado. And she was, you know, a bud tender when I met her, and I've kind of like helped bring her up and train her on a bunch of shit. And now she's just shining and sparkling. And I have another girl that I work with that is running a couple distro now and a couple brands. And, you know, when I first met her, she was trying to decide if she even wanted to make it into the legal market, you know, and I see these people just really shining, and it makes me so happy because like, I know I'm not responsible for it, but I do know that every time that anyone's ever like invested in me as my, you know, my career or my profession, it's helped me so immensely that like, I know the little bits of inspiration here and there, and the little bit of mentorship definitely goes a long way when somebody's like willing to, help.
Absolutely. So, especially with somebody coming from somebody with such vast experience. I can honestly say I don't know that I've ever talked to another person who has had the, I think, diversity of experience that you have in the cannabis industry. I mean, starting from 2009, like, is that correct? That's when you got your first dispensary license?
Yeah, I was yeah, the first time I ever really got into regulation, it was like I fell into it. It was a total accident. But like the most serendipitous accident of my life. I went to get into real estate. I was living in Northern California doing some off the grid shit. And I came back and into Southern California, and I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I like was a little confused. I had been, doing backpacking after school, after college, and I just wasn't really sure what I was up to. And so I went into real estate. And when I got my real estate license, 3 days later, the economy officially crashed.
Oh shit. So you're a California girl.
Yeah.
You went to college in California?
Yeah, Cal State, well, Long Beach City and Cal State Long Beach.
Nice. Okay.
And I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm like, okay, so maybe not real estate. And I went to buy weed that day, and the cannabis dispensary that I was shopping at, which was a trap dispensary at the time, they were getting evicted from their building. And the guy, he's my first cannabis boss too. His name's Josh. He went and he told me, he's like, the city of Long Beach is going to start an ordinance process, and they're going to license dispensaries. And Long Beach was the first city in California that was doing that. And so they were going through the ordinance process. And so I went and found the landlord of the business, the real estate business I worked for, the guy who owned that building, is who I did my first lease with. So I placed my first dispensary like 72 hours later on a lease in the building that my real estate office was in.
I love that. That's so resourceful. It's so just like, oh,
we were friends with the landlord. So I was like, let me reach out to this guy and say, hey. And the landlord was pretty cool. He was like very hip kind of dude. And so I reached out and I was like, hey, cannabis is going to be a thing in Long Beach. Do you want to get ahead of the curve? And, everyone also in real estate saw the opportunity financially, but it was so early on, people were scared.
Right.
But this specific landlord was not. And I got my first dispensary placed. And then I ended up getting fired from that real estate job. It's the only time I've ever been fired. My boss called me on a Sunday, and I had been brunch drinking, and I told him off. I like lit him up. He had a bunch.
Yes.
I don't even remember all the things I lit him up about, but I lit him up. And I had been drinking, probably shouldn't have even answered my phone, and hang up. And I come to work the next day, and all my shit's packed in a box.
Whoa. So you were like removed from that job.
Yeah. I like grabbed the box and was like, okay, like I quit. I got fired, I guess. And so I walk out and I walk downstairs, which is where the dispensary was.
Yeah.
I walked directly into the dispensary with my box of shit. And I was like, I need to buy some weed. And he's like, why do you have your desk in a box? I was like, you just got fired. He's like, oh my God, you just got fired and you're coming straight here? I'm like, yeah, I need some weed.
How am I going to get through this?
Yeah. And he asked me, if I could help him. He said, have you ever done taxes? And I said, I've never done business taxes, but I took some tax accounting classes in school, and I could help. And, we get an accountant, but I could help sort it. And so he pointed at this box and he's like, I need to file my taxes. I haven't filed taxes yet. And it was like his second quarter of being in business. So it wasn't terrible.
Right.
But then I found out he was in debt, and we started going through all this process. And I, within like 2 weeks, was the general manager of his dispensary.
Oh my God. I mean, it's just universal timing. It really is. You picked up your phone, you had those drinks at brunch, and you picked up your phone because it's just all part of the path.
Absolutely.
And it's such a crazy story. It really is. It really is. Because you didn't belong in real estate. I mean, you built the cannabis industry. You are one of the people who I give the responsibility to of building the California cannabis industry.
Thank you.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, so you became the general manager of this dispensary. What was it called?
AAC, Apothecaries Assistance Collective. And
Nice.
it was really amazing because a few weeks went by and the broker of the real estate agency that I worked for, not the owner of the agency, because the main broker was a different guy, comes downstairs, buys some weed, and he's like, so Nichole, I'll broker any deal you bring me. And I was like, what? He said, yeah, these weed deals. He's like, this is a thing. You're not crazy. Like fuck Vince. Like, I'll broker any deal you've got. And so I just got on the phones, and the dispensary that we had this little office that like they didn't use. And it had like a tiny little refrigerator. And sometimes people would take breaks. There was a bean bag in it. And so I said, can I take over this office? And so I took over the little back office and set up a desk. And I started having clients come meet me at the dispensary.
That's incredible. As clients as I can help you open a dispensary. Oh my God, brilliant. Brilliant.
And so I'm like, I can get you some real estate. I can help you kind of like turn this around. I now understand what's going on here. And the city of Long Beach is starting their ordinance process. And it was the 2 weeks after I got fired that the city of Long Beach had their first city council meeting with medical marijuana on the ballot or on the agenda. And so I started going to the city council meetings, and everyone thought I was crazy. They're like, your real estate license. I'm like, nobody's buying real estate. What fucking difference does it?
Right. Like, why am I hanging on to the sinking ship when I actually see where the puck is going?
Yep,
like
something.
Yeah. You were there for the birth of it all. I mean,
it was exciting.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, looking back at it, I can't say that if I was older, I would have taken the risk. And so I'm really glad that, you know, as it stands right now, like, I don't even know that I can like make a clear decision on would I or wouldn't I, because I'm so deep in it now. And I'm like almost programmed to take the chance, because I'm just like, well, every single thing that we've done has been, you know, you're hitting the boundary, you're hitting the border every time. And you're just like trying to get as close to that edge. And I make the joke, I'm like, the cannabis industry is the habitual line steppers of the world right now, because it's like, they give us this line and then we're like, okay, well, what about this? And what about this? And, you know, ultimately one of my bigger, you know, falls was what about this, you know? And it's funny because people had a lot of judgment about what happened, but I remind everyone, everything about our business and our industry is a loophole. Like we're technically living loopholes. Like the idea that, you know, we have some sort of like real foundation to stand on is ignorant. It's ignorant. You know, if you're like, think that this is secure, it's no, we're still federally illegal, like deschedule or bust, you know. But we don't have, you know, any idea what comes tomorrow. And so if I had like made it this far in real estate and today somebody was like, hey, you know, you want to get into this thing, I would, you know, in real estate, obviously it wouldn't be the same kind of a risk, but if the risk was I have been 10 years in on real estate before it became a thing, I don't know that I would have done it. So I understand why everyone was terrified. I just didn't know any better.
I love that youth, right? So how old were you when you started that?
24.
And how were you able to, you know, get these men in the industry to take you seriously? Or did you ever find that people didn't take you seriously because, you know, you're a beautiful young woman? It's like, how can she know about business? You know, God doesn't give with both hands.
I did all the real estate that I was doing the real estate, and in the city of Long Beach, they did their first licensing process under 5.87. And there were 24 licenses given out, and 11 of them were my leases.
I mean, excuse me. So your answer to me is that I'm a hard worker and I get it done, and it doesn't matter.
You couldn't deny it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When people were saying you have to call Nichole West if you want to find a property, because I'd already banged the pavement. Like I had already gone and called every landlord in the fucking area. I was at every city council meeting. I knew where the green zones were. I was knocking on doors of businesses that looked like they might be failing and being like, hey, if I could get a weed business that would be willing to pay you to go away, would you do that? And people like just willing to take these risks. there was one landlord that was in his main office was in like the cut, and I would show up every morning. He owned like 10 buildings that I needed, and he wouldn't take my phone call, and he wouldn't take my phone call, and he was, I think part of it was religion that was keeping him from it, you know. He's very devout Christian. And so I would show up every day, like 4 or 5 days a week, with donuts and coffee, and just like waiting for him. And apparently there was a back door because he would somehow bypass me over and over and over again.
Right.
And then one time I parked down the street because he had gotten used to what my car was. And he walks in and he sees me and he's like, I thought that you weren't here. And I said, I parked my car down the street just for that reason. I said, please take this meeting, George. Like, I need you to hear me out. And he was like, oh my God, fine, come in. And so I talked to him about 5.87. I was like, the city of Long Beach. And I said, this is what kind of money we can bring into the economy. Like, look at the port, it's dying. You own all this real estate. People are just leaving. Here's how many people have left your buildings. Here's how people have left your buildings early. You know, like, let's talk about this. Like, I can get some of the space leased. And he was like, you're crazy, but all right. And
you're crazy, but I can't deny those facts that you just dropped on me, Nichole West. Yes.
Yeah. So when we actually came down to the licensing process, one of my clients who was a dispensary, one of the, you know, the 215 dispensaries, he was like, I don't want to run this dispensary, like going through all these rules and all this shit. He's like, oh my God, I need somebody to run this. And I had asked him, you know, who do you want to fill out on your paperwork as far as like liabilities and responsibilities? Who's the person that they call? Who's running your permitting? And because that was a part of the licensing process. And he told me, you know, what are you doing with your life, Nichole? And I said, I don't know. What do you mean? And he said, well, the city of Long Beach is the only place doing cannabis real estate right now. Like, what are you going to do after this is over? I was like, well, I'm not really sure about that. And he said, I'll sell you a percentage of this business if, you know, you want to be in. He's like, you want to run it? And he's like, I'll sell it to you for a real good deal. And he gave me a small percentage and sold me a percentage, and I signed off on the documents and we filled it out. Lottery happened, and 3 months later I was an owner in one of the first licensed dispensaries in the state of California. And then I'm the first person in the city of Long Beach to make it through the ordinance process. I actually am the only person in that original like push that got to the certificate of occupancy before they changed the ordinances. Right. And so I had a CO in 2010, which there was no medical marijuana certificate of occupancy out.
So you were the only person who was allowed to do it, essentially. Like you
for like 7 days.
Oh my God, I love that market share, baby.
Yeah, the city of Long Beach had an emergency city council meeting because my location was like in this fucking prime spot. It was right across from the El Dorado disc golf course. They had an emergency meeting, and myself and 2 other dispensary owners were really close to parks. And so they added parks to the ordinance, thus zoning us out of business, literally turning it over. And like looking back at it, I should have sued the shit out of them because of what they did. But like I was young and dumb, and we were, you know, not really capable of doing that sort of thing. And we barely had the money to get as far as we had gotten. And there was nobody investing in cannabis at the time. And luckily my landlord was really cool and like let us out of the lease. And, you know, we were able to kind of just tuck our tail between our legs and go home. And I didn't know what to do with my life. I was like, okay, so didn't know what to do. Thought I knew what I was doing. Now I don't know what to do again. And so when we finally shut down, we shut down because we had got our location shut, and then we moved back to the original one.
Oh, nice.
We're like, we're just gonna fucking sell weed anyways, you know. And so
that's what it is.
I just started getting tickets every day. The cops would show up. They would ticket my customers for like tinting. They gave one of my paraplegic customers a dog leash ticket because their dog wasn't on a leash. Like
just bullshit, nickel and diming to get you out of there, to just
whatever
push you out of there.
Yep. And then they raided us a few times, and it was just like over and over and over again. And then finally I was like, I can't fucking do this anymore. Yeah. I shut down. And when I shut down, I had sent my resume to WeedMaps, and I had gone toe to toe with WeedMaps when they had first come out to charge, because WeedMaps originally was not a charged one. And so it was for free. You got it like it was like a fucking social media basically.
Yeah.
And then they started charging, and I had gone to fucking war with them. I'm like, this is dumb. And then I realized how valuable they were. And so I paid a lot of money. I was one of the first paying customers, like first 10 paying customers on WeedMaps. And so I sent them my resume. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do with my life, but like, if you know anybody hiring for dispensaries or anything, let me know. And then they called me. WeedMaps called me. And
yeah. Wow. Oh God. I bet they just died when they saw your resume. They're like,
my first job was like managing someone's dispensary, which I had never done before. Then I owned a dispensary, and then I went to work for WeedMaps. So it was like the beginning of my career was just so like I'm doing it. I'm fucking doing it, you know? And in a big way, just, I saw it, and I saw the opportunity, and I took it seriously, and I just did it. And I showed up, and I was like, this is what I'm doing now. And I think a lot of people are afraid of that. You know, a lot of people are afraid to show up and get what they deserve, you know? And I think it's a problem with women in general. Women are really like, and I think this is changing. I think this is changing a lot for women. I think this current time where women are not afraid to step up and be like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
We're moving into that. But you know, I think in a big way, women almost want to like, we want to like know that we've earned it fair and square, and like that everyone else is on the same page. But at a certain point, it's like, most people aren't even paying the fuck attention. So just go get it.
Yes.
Go get it, do it. And then when they turn around and they're like, wait, who's doing that? And people are like, Nichole's doing that. And she's been doing it. So like, you want to talk about it? Go ask her. And so I think a lot of people wait for it to be comfortable, right? And wait for it to be like, oh, everyone's on the same page about this. Now I'm that, you know, perfect example.
Wait for people to be comfortable. I love that.
I'm waiting for everyone to know that I'm in charge. And it's like, no, just take charge.
Yeah. Nobody's going to give you the crown.
Right.
You know, that's the thing. No crown is ever, here you go. I'm tired of it. You got to take it.
Right.
And sometimes it's just laying on a pillow like it is in Texas.
Exactly.
I'm waiting for somebody to take that crown. You know, we're talking legislation and, you know, our policymakers and advocates and things like that to really push cannabis legalization over the line here. But it's crazy though, to think that there's so much opportunity out there, and that women, just because the way we're hardwired, we're just not getting it because we are actually waiting to be given, you know, approval or permission.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's not how you roll. I love that. So Nichole, will you talk to me a little bit about the circumstance? And I don't even know, and I know the story because I've heard you talk about it on Clubhouse. You know, you're very open about it, but I even feel like if I mentioned any of the facts or assume facts, I would fuck it up. Right. I'm talking to the person that it's their story to tell, you know? And so I'm like, just want to be real respectful, and I'm going to take a dab rip. And if you would honor me with maybe honor me in the audience with sharing your story about when you went to jail, essentially.
All right, I'm gonna take a bong hit too.
You know what? I'm gonna go bong hit. All right, Nichole West. All right.
Take a bong hit. Yeah. I feel like I'm down to talk about it, but I feel like it deserves a bong rip beforehand.
Yeah, it does. You know, you deserve some, you know, cannabinoid just support, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean,
they're here for me. My cannabinoids, they're here for me.
They are. They are.
All right.
So it's good.
The transition through my life after WeedMaps was fucking amazing. It was absolutely insane because I went to work for WeedMaps. I got a promotion like 5 months in to help lead the sales team for marijuana.com. Marijuana.com at the time was the largest website acquisition when it came to a cannabis business in the history of ever. They bought marijuana.com for $4.4 million. The original website looked like a fucking child had made it in like, you know, remember back in the day when you made a website and it was like
all pixelated and shit
with the button and you had the little title across it and then it had like a paragraph. That's what marijuana.com originally looked like before WeedMaps bought it. And so I got to jump on the marijuana.com team. And then we got moved out to Colorado. And when we got to Colorado, I just saw the fucking light. And I was like, this is insane. And because a lot of people wondered how I got there.
Yeah.
I got there with WeedMaps. Like I left because I honestly, I took the job at WeedMaps because I didn't want to fucking go to jail in California, which is the most ironic part in the world, because then they moved us out to Colorado. And when I was in Colorado, I just saw the light. The dispensary game was like actually happening.
Yeah.
And
what year was that?
2012.
Nice.
3 days after we moved there, legalization happened.
Oh my God.
So I get there, I'm like, wow, this medical world's already cool. I get my medical card on like my second day there. And then like my fourth day there, it's like weed's going to be a thing and for everyone. I'm just, this is insane. Like this escalated quickly. And like, this is amazing. So I asked my boss at the time who to go work for, because he was a very big supporter in like just doing what makes you happy. And he recommended that I go work for the clinic, and they, he gave me a good reference. And so I went to go work for the clinic. And then from the clinic, I got scouted. I just had been like a repetitious scouting after that, because I went from the clinic and a company called TRUE Cannabis. When they first got started, they were like 5 different company names, and I helped them with their rebrand. But we went to TRUE Cannabis. They hired me as a they hired me as a medical store manager, and I became their GM within 30 days. From TRUE Cannabis, I opened like 4 dispensaries for them, and then I did their rebrand and we scaled their grow. And then from TRUE Cannabis, I was scouted to Kind Love. At Kind Love, I was director of business development and wholesale. I sold a ton of cannabis, literally tons, especially according to investigative reports. And in that wholesaling process, I met the owners of Sweet Leaf because I was selling them a lot of my wholesale. And then Sweet Leaf scouted me to go work for them, and Sweet Leaf hired me, and I became the vice president of operations at Sweet Leaf. When I got there, they had 3 locations. When I left, they had gotten to 13. I was there for a little under 3 years. When I got there, I think we did $15 million. And my last year that we were there, we did 90. So we 2x'd every year that I was there, or 1.45 at one point. And we just grew. We scaled. I was employee number 89. And when I left, I had hired employee number 467. We had scaled a little over 100,000 square feet of cultivation. We had opened, like I said, we'd opened 10 stores, but we had sold 1. So we had 9 additional stores since I got there. So I was essentially opening 3 stores a year. I was there for 2 3/4 of a year. So it was like 3.1 or something. And we were just a force. But in real life, I tell everybody this now: whatever you're spending on your marketing budget, you should be spending twice that on your legal budget. Because, I'm a fucking 30-year-old at the time, female, who's, got some business acumen and I got mad street hustle, but like, I've never fucking been a line by line legal person. Like, I'm now responsible for understanding like this epic amount of stuff. And now, mind you, I understood a lot of it. And everyone's asked, how did you get that job? And I said, because I have really great reading comprehension. And I'd say that's probably the most real statement, because I read and I comprehend the things that I read to be able to then speak them in normal human talk. And I actually learned how to do that because my first big kid job out of college, I worked for RJ Reynolds. I designed marketing for Southern California, Camel, Cool, Winston, Pall Mall, Doral. And
Is this before you went back, like backpacking? Because that's where we started the origin story. I like that. You like to skip over the RJ Reynolds piece. Holy shit, Nichole.
It was right before I quit my job there because my grandfather was dying of cancer from smoking. And like my whole life was just like imploding. And I straight out of college, I was making $80,000 a year at 23 years old, and everyone, my family was like, you can't quit this job. You'll never get another one like it. And I was like, but I'm going to make my own job like this. Like, this isn't And I told my grandfather that, and he was the one, like the really big one that like kind of sunk on my heart.
Yes.
And he said, don't quit this job. You'll never, like, I had a company car, I had a company credit card, but I was killing people. You know what I mean? My job was to kill people. And I knew that the things that we were being trained to do and I was just like, this is not
working in marketing is what you mean. I just want to make sure that's very, very clear. You were focused in marketing and crafting these messages that get the consumer to think it's cool. Yep. So yeah, I hear that and I feel that, and that's some heavy shit. And
but also that training gave me the ability to understand, because there's a lot of tobacco laws. And so my job, I would come up with these ideas and the lawyers would be like, nope, because it boom, 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 boom. And so I would submit all this shit to legal all the time, and legal would shoot me back like, you can do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. And so for that reason, I had like a pretty decent reading comprehension for law.
Yes.
And so when I was in cannabis and I would just be like, am I allowed to do that? And nobody would know the fucking answer. I'm like, all right. And I would go to the law, and I knew what the lawyers were doing. So like I would look it up, and then I would present the questions much more poignantly to the legal team. And so, 3 years in, all of a sudden I'm the fucking compliant. Like they gave me all kinds of nicknames, but I was the compliance person.
But the one nickname that you got that, when you hear, Nichole West's story, is cautionary tale. It's, she was given this title and she was kind of fucked over, and not kind of, but fucked over.
Yeah.
Because it's laid on your shoulders, but yet your entire resume is I don't know. I think about the fact that you got jammed up because you went to work for someone else, right? And then you're like,
yeah,
that's my read. But
and so I make it through all of these positions, scouted. I'm now at Sweet Leaf, and when I get to Sweet Leaf now, first and foremost, when I got there was no record retention of any adult use customer, because it's a fucking adult use. Like, why are we keeping your name in a system, right? Mm-hmm. In my mind. And it made sense, because the whole initial the original law was regulate like alcohol. Okay. Yeah. Is there a fucking database for your booze consumption?
Anywhere? I hope not.
It's like, this is how many beers you bought yesterday, like
Liz, you're over your quota on Tito's again.
right. Like that doesn't exist. And so in my mind, regulate like alcohol meant let's regulate like alcohol. And so I was under the impression, and so were their lawyers, and so is the way that every other dispensary at the time was regulating the sale of cannabis, was just, are you 21? And when it first started, there was two different sets of regulations for in-state customers and out-of-state customers, as far as your how much you could purchase. And so the limits were different, which was the dumbest shit that I'd ever heard of in my life. You had a lower limit. Anyways, so you, and at the time,
how does that make any fucking sense? Sorry, go on. Wow.
Right? Yeah. So if you didn't have a Colorado ID, you had this one limit. Sorry. Ambulance. If you did have a Colorado ID, it was a totally separate limit. And so that was the only thing that we cared about. What state are you from? That changes the limit on the purchase. We didn't record any adult use purchase. So the idea that you would have to limit how many times somebody could come in was never there in any of our minds, because it was an adult use purchase. You didn't fucking record it. How would I know if you've been here before?
Right. Because it's adult use. And, at the dispensary, was it like people just, came in and out, or did they have to show their identification to like a bud tender or something?
They had to show their ID to someone.
Right. So that's, so there's that, gate that you're doing.
Yeah. That you make sure they're 21.
Show your ID. You're 21 years old. Cool. You are who you say you are. Let's do this.
So now the idea that somebody could only come one time was never in any of our minds, because it was regulate like alcohol. Like, you don't, like, I can't just let you buy more weed standing right here at this cash register, but if you came back later, why not? And so then people realized that if you came back later, why not? And so people on the outside started abusing the system. Right. But then where do you draw the line, right? Are you going to draw the line at some of this is real life. There were two dispensaries, some of the larger dispensaries, and they were the only two that were bigger than us. One of them had a rule: you can come in 3 times. They made it up. 3. There was no place that 3 existed in
3.
3. And I was like, you just picked an arbitrary fucking number? Because
but I mean, props to them for going for 3.
I had been asking
breakfast,
questions,
lunch, and dinner.
how often can somebody, I had asked the question, and I actually get tied into the whole thing with an email that I wrote to the government that got submitted as evidence.
Oh.
How often can somebody come in? They said that, here's the regulations, stated the regulations, which says that an adult use consumer can buy 1 ounce per transaction. Cool. Okay. And then the next sentence, the woman says, my associates believe that if multiple transactions happened at the possession limit was over 1 ounce, that would still count, but I'm under a different authority or under a different impression. So now this government agency is telling me one thing, and then kind of, I think something else, but also we're now talking about possession limits. Possession limits are very different, right? Mm-hmm. I understand possession is 9/10 of the law. Like, I get that. So I'm like, okay, so as long as they're not in possession of it, like, all right. So if I give them this letter, we're going to give them, every person that buys 1 ounce, a thing saying you're not allowed to possess more than 1 ounce. And it's like, make sure you don't. And here's the law, don't possess more than 1 ounce. Helping customers know that they have possession limits. Like, because to me, that's now the onus is on the consumer. Do not possess more than 1 ounce. This is your onus, because you're the consumer holding this product. I am just selling it to you. Now the new onus is possession, because that's literally what I get cited on, was the possession limits. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I start giving sheets of paper. Every dispensary we had gave a sheet of paper that said, you're not allowed to possess more than 1 ounce. And it cited the law. And so we gave that to everyone who bought 1 ounce so that they understood, because I was worried, like, nobody knows the fucking laws, because nobody knows the fucking laws.
No, because it doesn't matter, because it's an adult use state, and I am an adult and I am a consumer. And that's where I just want to dip in there, because what the fuck are we trying to achieve here when we pass these laws that say we have an adult use market? We are then supporting businesses. I hate the government, Nichole. Yeah, I hate the government deeply, and I know you do too. And we could just, that's for our next podcast. Yeah. Truly. But the customer wants what the customer wants, and then if the customer is doing something illegal with that product, well, then that's what I'm doing. And then you're going to have to come after me, law enforcement. That's my relationship with you. And because of
to me, that made the most sense. The customer who has it now has a possession limit.
That's on me. Thank you for educating me. Thank you for telling me. Oh shit, yeah. I got this thing, but you know what? I need to take 3 ounces to this party, and I'm going to do it anyway. And guess what? I'm probably not going to get caught.
Yep.
Whatever. But that's on me, not you.
Yeah. Yes. But we told you, like, you're only allowed to have 1 ounce.
Yes.
And I mean, there were people that were coming in, and in real life, and I always use this as an example, I could smoke 1 ounce of weed in under a day. Yeah. So if I smoked all that weed and I wanted some more motherfucking weed, why shouldn't you sell me more weed?
Right. That's my fucking right. I promise you'll sell me more oxy. I promise you'll sell me more booze. It's just fucking maddening, and especially coming from Texas. I've got like an extra fucking acid burn on my ass right now, Nichole, because you can still go to jail. You can still catch a felony for, the wrong kind of concentrate.
Oh yeah. I went to
felony. I can't vote.
I went to Texas to visit a friend, and I forgot, like, cause I've gotten so like used to, other things. And I asked my friend, I was like, can I smoke in the backyard? And she's like, no. I'm like, why? She's like, cause you only smoke good weed. Like, we're going to like drive you somewhere and you're going to go like walk out somewhere far away from us, and you're going to go smoke over there. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? She's like, you could like vape pen here. You could like take like 1 bong hit here, but you cannot sit out in my backyard and chief a fucking whole joint. And I'm like, okay.
But also, why? It's just a plan. I've been given a towel before to do before, as I'm smoking. I mean, it's just fucking, it's hilarious. And I mean, it's part of the process, right? It's part of the normalization. But you were working at Sweet Leaf. You were chief of compliance there.
Yep.
And you yourself were in compliance too.
We were letting people come when I got there. And as many times, we weren't really regulating it. We didn't seem to have any sort of issue. There was a couple locations and a couple stores where people started coming regularly. And so we were having meetings and asking, like, what's the limit? What are we supposed to do? And so I sent an email to the government being like, hey, what the fuck? Like, we don't know how to regulate this. Like, can you help us? And the lady sends back some fucking vague, arbitrary thing. So then I send her this letter and I'm like, hey, what if I give every customer this? This lady emails me back. We are so glad to see that there is somebody going above and beyond. And this is no joke. She fucking said the words above and beyond in this to make sure that the customers know what the regulations are. And I said, wow, cool. This is what we're going to do.
That's exhibit A. Okay.
So we start sending these letters out. And like, if we were trying to hide something, right, we wouldn't be handing that out. We wouldn't, you know what I mean? We knew what was happening. And so we were trying to inform our customers and say, hey guys,
this is great, but you need to know.
Be careful, because you shouldn't be possessing more than 1 ounce, but also you can fucking smoke weed. You can gift weed. So if somebody went and got weed and wanted to give it to some fucking homeless guy, why not? Is he 21? Cool. Give it to him, because it's better than fucking meth. Yeah. And like, you know, like what the fucking fuck? And if you wanted to go and you were having like a veteran event and you wanted to be able to give joints to all your vets, you should be able to fucking do that. You know what I mean? So like in my mind, I understood there were so many legitimate reasons to need to come back more than one time that it didn't even like faze me. And then there was a few customers that were getting fucking egregious. And so then we hire an actual compliance officer who was an ex-cop and an ex-investigator for the MED. And he becomes our director of compliance. And he's our director of compliance for a year. Now, I want to tell you, this is the most real shit. He was nowhere to be found on any of the major blame on any of this. He sat and watched us do this for a year.
What?
Real life, ex-cop, ex-investigator.
He signed a contractual agreement with your company to state that I can do these said tasks and duties.
I'm the compliance officer.
And this is what I'm responsible for. But yet
I got in trouble because I was the highest woman. I was the highest on the totem pole. I was above him technically. Yeah. So I could have overridden any of his decisions. And I'm sure at some point he probably said that I did, because he had some dumb decisions on some things, but like this was not, he never had any interaction. So,
but you brought him on to style you, not the other way around. 100%. It's like, what in God's name? But so
it's like getting an accountant who's a professional accountant and then be like, but you were the accountant's boss and the numbers were wrong. And you're like, I hired somebody who knows how to do numbers, you know, like, what the fuck do you mean? Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Do you ever think that any part of, any part of your story is highlighted by the fact that you're a woman, highly successful, beautiful woman?
So I think there's two things. One, I'm from LA and I acted like I was from LA in Colorado. And that was my bad. I threw a party one year I rented a fucking casino. And my company party, I hired 5 party buses. I put my whole fucking team on party buses and drove them up to a casino in Black Hawk. And it was a retired casino. So we had for just prizes. I hired every type of card game and roulette and all the shit. And they played fucking casino games and we smoked weed and partied all night. And I was throwing
sounds like heaven.
I was throwing First Friday events in the art district where we were bringing all these great brands together. We sponsored the 420 festival with Lil Wayne and Wiz Khalifa. And we had all the rappers that would come through. They'd come through our shop, like Bun B, Waka Flocka, fucking, oh God, what's the guy's name? Riff Raff,
Katy Perry's ex, as I like to refer to him.
Right. Kid Cudi, like just
the real ones.
Real ones, you know. Oof. And it was because we were all California people. All 3 of the 4 of us, there were 3 owners, 2 of them were from California. I'm from California, and then there was 1 non-Californian. But it was like, I feel like we showed up like we were California, you know, like California is very different than Colorado. And we showed like we were fucking in LA, like, and you know, it wasn't it wasn't a good look. And looking back at it, like I should have been much more conservative with the way that we presented what we were doing, but the way that we presented and the way that we shared all of that love with everyone is the reason why we fucking crushed, because we paid people good. We, you know, we had all the benefits, and like people would leave other companies to come work for us because we were offering all the benefits. We had the best entry rate on pay. Like the owners didn't make that much money. And that's the most real statement I could say. And a lot of people were like, you guys did $90 million. The owners must be rich. Like they might've had a couple $100,000 saved in their fucking banks, maybe, because they were not getting paid. They were not getting paid much more than I was, like very, very little more than I was. And every dollar that the company made, they reinvested. And so it's like they were not loaded by any means. They were wanting to build something amazing. And the state of Colorado at the time didn't accept out-of-state funds. And so they were doing it all themselves, like completely their own bootstraps. And so they had never borrowed any money. Like it was insane. Like they were the salt of the earth, fucking American dream. And they were from somewhere else, and we acted like it. And so I think, and I was very outspoken, and that's also probably not a good look either in a place like that. I mean, it's a red state. People forget that. People forget that Colorado is a red state just because the little bubble and because they fucking popped up with weed first.
Right.
And, you know, I came in very much blue state vibes with, you know, some fucking gangster rap bumping in my fucking Mercedes that I probably shouldn't have been driving. You know, and I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford half the things I was doing, but that's how you live in California too. Like you floss harder than you actually are. And I did that, you know, and I didn't think about it because we had a big target on our backs, you know. Not only competition was angry at us because I had driven, you know, and I say but we had driven the price so far down in the industry. Like there were people that were blaming us for the fact that the market had almost tanked there. And it was like, we had the buying power. So we could, and we were doing everything. And so we could.
So you had a huge target. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was inevitable at looking back.
Yep.
You know, so when does the book come out?
I've been trying to finalize at the very least the story itself. There's someone trying to make a screenplay out of it, which I think is pretty exciting.
Who's going to play you?
I mean, I don't know. I would
the lamest question, but you know,
choose anyone, I would love Natalie Portman.
Okay. Ooh. All right.
Oh, look at my cup.
Oh, yes. That's it, baby. That is feminized at its core. So Natalie Portman, yeah, she's strong. She's strong for sure. I'm excited to see some up and comers, you know, being that I'm 42. And so I felt like, I feel like there's a whole new like generation of actors coming up that are just awesome and captivating. So I might throw a newbie in the hat for you.
I feel like that about the cannabis industry. I love every time I look back and I see some, you know, 20-something female like crushing it.
Yes.
Like I'm friends with Carson Hummelston, and she's the owner of Vankst. It's like a staffing agency.
Okay.
And just watching her like bloom has been probably one of the coolest things because she's crushing it. They just got like multi-million-dollar investment, and she's still, I mean, obviously still working every fucking day nonstop, but she is like just the dream kind of thing to see this, you know, young fucking sharp girl make it, you know?
Oh, I love that. I love that. Wow. So I mean, God, you're so smart and always kind of like 2 steps ahead that I ask all of my guests the same 3 questions. And you just answered question number 2, just in a roundabout way. And that question is, you know, what other woman is inspiring you in the game right now?
Oh man.
You know, who do you want to give shout outs to?
So one of my biggest inspirations for sure, like every time, is Wanda James. Like, she's just so fucking amazing. And like, I'm like overwhelmed with gratitude that I can call her my friend.
Wow.
She's a bad bitch. She spoke at my, I had a roast a few years back and she roasted me, and it was like the biggest honor in the whole world to have her be there. And support me, because she's just one of those people that like every time, everything that she's done, she's like the first person to have done it, of whatever it is. Like I'm so blown away. And she's running for CU Regent right now. So she's like running, to do something amazing politically for the education system. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that to me, to see cannabis and a woman, and I mean, and for her, even the reality, she's a military Black woman. So mm-hmm. like having gone through all of those things of her life as a woman and as a woman of color, yes, and to be as badass and successful and like in your face with like what the right thing is, that's inspiring to me. And it makes me want to keep doing that, and
before I take my next bong rip, I want to say that my first guest ever on the Feminized podcast, Manchi Reverie. I don't know if you know her personally, but I'm going to connect you guys just via email, just so you know each other. That was her woman as well. And Manchi is in Denver and just, searched for Wanda James because she was such an inspiration. When Manchi was getting into the industry, Manchi does more media marketing. She's a radio host, a hip hop radio host. So her voice is just fucking amazing. And she's recording a podcast right now. She's got like 30 episodes in. And it's culture, urban culture and cannabis. But anyway, Wanda James, holy shit, I got chills.
She's the shit.
Yeah, she's the shit. Okay. Awesome.
And then I would also say, probably if I could like be able to know someone more in the industry with everything that they've been through, it's probably Mila, the hash queen. I've met her a few times. I have her book. She's like a really rad fucking lady, but like
she seems like it, man.
She's just done so much in her lifetime, and yeah, I think she's pretty inspiring. And the fact that she's still doing it,
right,
is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I think that I miss that presence. I'm not on Clubhouse a lot anymore. It's hard. You only have 24 hours in a day, right?
Yeah, now that the world's going back, I kind of had a feeling that Clubhouse was going to kind of do that when the world came back online, but
yeah, I mean, again, universal timing. I feel like we all, and many people on Clubhouse, I'm speaking for myself though, I really discovered a lot of really amazing people through that app, and I'm so grateful. And Mila was actually one of them. And I find that I do miss just hopping into rooms where there are only the experts talking, yeah. I like to listen. I like to, I'll pipe in when somebody's talking about Texas politics or, oh yeah, baby. I'll pipe in when I pipe in, but Mila is one of those people I could just like fucking listen to. And then when her daughter would like jump on, it was just cool. I was like, oh, I want me and my daughter to be like that one day.
Yeah. My dad comes to a lot of my events and he's like my biggest supporter. It's like probably the most amazing thing ever. Oh, you know what? I didn't even finish.
That's incredible.
I didn't even finish the whole story with Sweet Leaf.
Yes.
So we get to the end of my point where I was saying, the company's allowing this to happen. We hired somebody that was supposed to do the job and tell us what compliance was or not. And we thought we were within the guise of compliance by having the notes and going through the process and being like, hey, don't forget, you're not supposed to possess more than this. And I quit mid-August and I was moving back to California because McCursa and regulation was coming here. And I never wanted to be in Colorado. Colorado was not my place.
I was
very California and I wanted to go home. And so it was time. And I quit my job mid-August, moved home, get settled, start working for a finance company. December 6th or 7th, I get the Cannabis Business Awards Woman of the Year. I'm just like, woo! That's back in Colorado. I come home and a few days later, the raids happen.
That's 2013.
2000. No, that was No, this was in 2017.
Oh, 17. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because you were already compliance and years had passed and you built the company up. You had 400 employees. It was crazy. You quit. Did you kind of know there was heat on you guys, or were you just fuck this shit?
Okay. So I never knew there was heat on us, but I also knew that there was the reality that being that big always puts a target, right? There's always a target when you're that big, and we were crushing it. But I left, and this is like the real honest truth. I had, prior to working there, I had dated one of the owners, and when I got hired, we had already broken up, and I had was totally fine with everything. And I'd made it a few years, and it was like the third year. And this is my favorite part of the story. That's going to be, I don't give a fuck. It's my story. He was having a polyamorous relationship with my old roommate and his girlfriend, and they were rubbing it in my face, and I was losing my fucking mind. And I quit because I couldn't.
Who does this dude think he is? Okay.
Because I couldn't work next to them anymore. And him and I were beefing all the time. It got to a point where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Did
it feel like you were still in the relationship in a weird way? Yeah.
And I hated my old roommate, and she was always there. And he would bring them both to parties, our company parties. He would bring both of his girlfriends.
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Who the fuck? Who did he think he was?
I was losing my mind. And
do you know that I'm Nichole West?
Real life, he's a friend of mine. It was an emotional thing. I quit because I couldn't emotionally handle it anymore.
Right.
I quit because I was like, fuck this place. And I was looking around, and nobody wants to fuck this place. I quit. Yeah. I quit literally on a whim. I was sitting in a meeting on Monday morning.
Good.
And I was looking around at the table, and I was running this meeting, and I looked around, and he had his feet up on the desk, and he was fucking chewing. He had gum in his mouth, and he was texting on the phone. No. And I was talking, and two of the guys down at the end of the table were talking to each other, not listening to me. And I looked at my agenda, and I was like, fuck this. And I dropped it on the ground, and I walked out in the middle of the meeting. And they were just like, what? And I'd been overwhelmed. I had 470 employees. I didn't know what the fuck was going on half the time. I was struggling to keep the things together. And we had grown so fast. I was in way over my head. Yeah. And my ex-boyfriend was a fucking douchebag that I had to work with every day. And I was losing my mind about it. And I didn't know how to process my feels. And I literally quit completely emotionally in the middle of a Monday morning meeting, was like, fuck this, walked out. I went and I got drunk, and at 9:30 in the morning, and went to a meeting. That's about right. Went to a meeting, a business meeting, on it, funniest, with Carson Hummelston that day. Same chick I was just talking about.
Staffing.
I had a meet. Yep. And they were helping us with staffing at the time. Whoa. And I was like, I quit my job today. And she's like, what? And I was like, I quit my job at 9:30 this morning and started drinking. And she's like, yeah, you seemed a little off. And I'm like, I'm drunk. And she's like, wait, you quit? I was like, yeah, I quit. And she's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I wrote my letter of resignation with one eye this afternoon, like this. And sent it in.
Hanging out of your mouth.
Boom, hit send. I reread it. I was like, well, that was pretty good considering how drunk I was. And I hit send. And in my resignation, I said, I'm taking my vacation. I leave on Monday next week. I'll be back in 3 weeks. When I get back, you can have somebody and I'll train them. And I said, this is my 45-day notice.
Boom.
And so I leave. And when I come back, I'm on my way back. They shut off my email. I couldn't get into my phone because my phone was triple encrypted with my company email because we had such high security on all of our shit. I couldn't get into my phone. I almost missed my flight home from Amsterdam. And
wouldn't be such a bad thing.
When I get back, they were like, yeah, I know you're good. You don't ever have to come back. We'll pay you out for your last 45 days. You're removed from all of our system. And so I didn't train anybody. I just left. And it took 5 people to replace me. They had to raise up every single person in the company to try to even kind of replace the existence.
Right.
And months went by, And then the raids happened, right? So I had been gone for like 5 months. And when it all came down, it's like 6 months later, I got subpoenaed. Turns out they had been investigating us for like a year and some months. I had 2 confidential informants that worked for us. One of them worked for the security firm and got hired in as a bud tender. And one of them just worked for us straight out. They had been watching us on camera from 140 Halo cameras throughout the city. There were 3 investigators that were of the regulars, of the like 10 regulars that were like way agreed, because I ended up seeing the lists of the people, and they showed us faces like, do you know this person? And I'm like, I don't fucking know any of these people. Like, no, because they did this because they thought that we were like pushing these people to sell our weed out. So like they were trying to hold us for like the responsibility of the people that were coming and buying weed from us. And we're like, we don't know any of these fucking people. Like, what are you talking about?
No.
And so as it turns out, 3 of them were investigators, the ones that were coming in all the time.
3 of them were fucking investigators. And how many were there?
Like 10.
10, like 10. So 30% were law enforcement. So just think of the energy going into those schemes and how that pumped up. Yeah. And how it's, you know what it is? It's at the end of the day, it's the people are thwarting the government and taking their money at every turn. The government doesn't like small business because little taxes are bullshit to collect. They like the bigger taxes. They like big commercial everything. We all know this. So that's fucking why you got popped, man. Because people were still selling a dime bag, okay, of your wonderful, in compliance, consumer compliant product. You know what? This Texan thanks you, because guess where all the illegal weed comes through? My state and my border, and it's still fucking coming through. And why do you think we do not have legal flower? You know, our law enforcement is really getting propped up by our marijuana.
So the irony is, one of the people that was busted with our weed was in Texas. And so one of the things that they brought us was this like investigation from Texas. So they were showing me like, and some of these people were like fucking obviously not people that not to be like a dick, but like these are like gang members in other states. Like you think that I'm like, what? Like,
yeah. Okay.
What the fuck, bro? Like, no, I don't know these people. Like,
yeah,
get the fuck out of here. And so the places that people had gotten in trouble were trying to, hold Colorado accountable and say, hey, you need to do something about this. And, there was so many different issues in the fact that we had so many customers all the time in neighborhoods, and we were in cute neighborhoods. So there was just like a lot of odds stacked against us when you look at it from like the in hindsight is obviously 2020, but like looking back at it, like I wouldn't have done like 3/4 of the shit that I did. Real life, I wouldn't have.
Right. Yeah. But you do what you can with the things that you have, and then you do better when you know better.
Do better when you know better. Exactly.
Yeah, that's it. You gotta keep it moving. And sometimes the decisions that we make are not the best decisions. I mean, they're not always going to be the best decisions, but you were, kind of made it's crazy because the timing too. I think the government really wanted to make an example of Sweet Leaf.
So they wanted to make an example of Sweet Leaf, and I had to be a part of it. And the fact that I had to be a part of it is a very interesting piece in the overall like big picture. And it's because I had a record of doing this before in California, like running cannabis businesses, and with everything that had happened, because when the dispensaries were getting shut down here in Long Beach, I was getting ticket after ticket after ticket. And so I've been like a part of the resistance for a long time. And so the reality is the government knows who the fuck I am, and that's the reality that I have to face and be continuously on the awareness of, because the government knows who the fuck I am. And like, on many levels. And so for that reason, I have to make sure that I'm always on the up and up where I can stand behind. And even when you are, because when you're on grand jury and they ask you a question and you try to explain to them what the actual answer is, and they tell you, ma'am, answer the question, not that, I only need the question. And you have no cross-examination from your lawyer available, and you have no ability to represent your story outside of the DA questioning you in front of a fucking jury, you end up in a really fucked up situation because you're not able to explain like, okay, yeah, but that's not that's not exactly what it means, and you're able to not able to defend yourself on any level.
Right.
It's really easy to make anybody in this industry look completely guilty of some shit that's going on, because so much of what we're doing, like I said, is outside of the guise of federal legalization. And so we get to a point where even if I did win, I was going to then be faced with federal charges, and they were going to charge me with 97 tons of distribution because the metric API code had my name on the transactions of that much cannabis, because my name was the one that the system ran through. And so I was all over all of this. And then they also had the wholesale sales from before. And so they came to me and they, at a certain point, the only way to get a racketeering charge is to have, or, RICO is to say that the owners made someone do something, and nobody made me do anything. Like, this is what the law was. And so for that reason, the reality of what we all could have been facing on a federal level would have been really intense. And whether or not I would have been completely implicated in the entire thing, we'll never know, because we didn't go to federal court on it. But I had to get, a letter from the AG's office promising me that they wouldn't press federal charges, because if technically you're outside of the guise of the state regulations, everything that you've done is a felony and a federal crime. Right. And the state can then turn you over and say, these people are not compliant, press charges against them on a federal level. That is always, until we deschedule, an option. It's always going to be an option. They can turn you over to the federal government and say, these people weren't following the law. Come get them.
Oh God, that's so scary. So essentially what you did was just, you went along with the state, and you did what you had to do to get on with your fucking life.
Yep. I took a plea deal so I could go to jail before Christmas, because I wanted to get out before Christmas. So I took a plea deal in November so that I could, in Colorado, for nonviolent drug crimes, because of occupancy in jails, you only have to serve 17 days on 30. And so I only had to spend 17 days, which was good because they sentenced me to 30 days. Awesome. And then we were on probation for 3 years. And they actually gave the woman who replaced me, who's my friend, Ashley Goldstein, they gave her charges as well, because she was the person that replaced me when I left. And so, we both took a plea deal, which gives you no ability to fight or anything. But at the same time, I don't even know how I would fight. It's not like it would be a fight. The whole thing's fucking stupid. And I get how the law and how the system is set to fuck you if they want. And right. I just have to be prepared for that for next time. And also, be more conservative in my presence, because, we presented much bigger than we actually were. And so I think for that reason, which is what you do to get bigger, that's how marketing works. Are you kidding me? It's true. You act bigger than you are, and eventually you're there. And you stayed to the fucking code of we're crushing it. And then all of a sudden you're holy shit, we're crushing it.
Holy shit. We're crushing it, or we've been crushed.
Yes, exactly. And, energy is a big thing. And so bringing that energy every day, I think, helped us in a big way to grow, but also, we just didn't know. We didn't know where we were being targeted. We didn't know that we were, but looking back at it, of course we were the ones.
Right.
There was no one else to target there.
No, but that fucking story, it's just, it's an unbelievable story. And it just speaks volumes, about who you are and your integrity and your fucking realness. like let's get it over with. I know what I'm up against. I don't want to waste any more of my energy and any more of my time.
Yep.
Like that's the worst thing you can steal from me is time, like straight up. And I know, you know that. And
I was trying to get out before Christmas, so I didn't have to tell my grandma I was in jail until after jail, and maybe never, but my mom totally fucking sold me out on accident. Like I was trying to hide it from grandma. The only person in the family that didn't know I was going to jail. I unfriended like 3 or 4 of my cousins who are kind of like very conservative on social media, like a few months before. Cause I'm just like, they don't need to see what's going on in my life right now. I went like private on all my social media, and I've always been a very like, I don't really care. I live my life like it's on the front page of the paper. But there was a couple years that I just had to like completely bury myself underneath this. And it was funny because I was doing a lot of public speaking, and I even got roasted during the investigation. And on my way home from the roast is when they served me my first subpoena. So it was crazy. And the photographs of myself that I got to see at places that I was, being photographed, they called me the queen bee, and like, they tried to make me out to be this like fucking, like almost like a gangster,
Yeah, they're selling their story, their marketing to their bosses to keep their jobs relevant. That's the crazy thing. It's the real business of it all. You made their jobs relevant for how many years, for how many hours, you made their jobs interesting and exciting. And the fact that you can hold your head up high and keep on trucking, keep on doing what you do. It's just like, hey, thank you for entertaining all of us. Really, I think everybody in your orbit can say, fuck yeah, that's a beautiful spot to be in. What is your sign?
I'm a Cancer.
Cancer. Awesome. When were you born? What was the
July 8th, 1985. Yeah.
All right, man. July 8th. That's a great date. I mean, I'm a Libra.
Okay.
October 17th, 1979.
Nice.
So it's a really, so I was born in the 70s. That's part of my wisdom. No.
Yeah, you're like the last of the 70s babies.
Oh my God. It's really crazy. Yeah. My husband's 80. It was the last of the 70s babies, and my husband's 80, so he likes to rub that in. But anyway, 10/17 was the day that the first day of recreational sales in Canada.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Thank you. I love that. And I always, I really did. I always felt that I would work in cannabis in some way, I don't know. My last name is Grow in real life.
Really?
Yeah. My dad.
That's
and my
so rad.
My great granddad, and I've got some awesome Grow genes, but we've never, been working in cannabis, and, Catholic family, conservative, but I just, I moved to San Francisco in 2011, and I needed it to save my life, basically. And I knew it's like, okay, well, whatever my contribution is, it's going to be fucking balls to the wall. And my husband is a producer, and he's been a producer for many, many years. And so we just, 4 years ago, we decided to go all in on shining a light on cannabis in a way that I think our people in Texas can understand, in a softer way, in a way that's like, you're not dumb for not knowing what a dab is. Let's just do one, and then we talk about it.
Yeah.
Like it is kind of like your dummy's guide to cannabis, but who gives a fuck?
What do you think about the Delta 8 stores there?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I think that it's a testament to Texans and to Texas ingenuity and Texas business and Texans just needing to be closer to the plant. I don't like Delta 8 personally. It makes me feel weird. To me, it feels like a cheap high. I'm a flower girl, or I like dabs, just mostly rosin though, like I'm a simple kind of girl. So Delta 8's weird to me, but people want to be close to the plant, and it's helping people. Yeah. So who the fuck am I going to say? But the problem is, when we make a law against something, then we make a law against testing it. We make a law against open conversation about it. So we're keeping the people from the information that will save them. Will save them. Imagine if we told people, hey, carts are so cool. We're all vaping and it's fun and it's not cigarettes. But if you vape heavy metals, it may be fucking bad. Or what are we vaping? If we had a vape conversation early on, I don't think we would have had Vapegate.
No.
I really don't.
Also, I don't know that a lot of these things people were aware of either.
No, they weren't. But because people couldn't talk about them is my point, because it was very much a black market vapes, and excuse the term, legacy market vapes, whatever you want to call it, not regulated market vapes were the ones that were the bad actors, especially in Texas. It killed 2 students at College Station at Texas A&M, I believe, vapes. And so, man, there's a big war against cannabis vapes in Texas, let me tell you. So it's like, if we could have an open conversation and open dialogue, then Jesus, we could have great business. But yet we keep people from this plant, that grows in our backyard.
Yep. That's insane, right? Why would anybody do that?
Well, we make a lot of money on other things, and it's a pain in the ass because we're going to have to reverse a lot of shit. And I honestly think that's why we haven't deschedulized. So because what are we going to do? How is the federal government going to untangle just this web? And it's just a matter of, bigger fish to fry, but, show me the oil. Tell me what bigger fish we have to fry than 45,000 men and women right now are in jail currently serving for low-level possession. I mean, that's real shit.
Real, and it's insane.
Why? And we're stopping business people, mom and pops, from selling fun plants, and that's what I'm about. I'm not into the craft stuff and the fun. Keep it local. Let's build up our community using this plant, not put people in jail. So that's really the thing that you get the, on a very, very deep level. And yet you continue to build successful businesses in the space. 45 dispensaries, I think I read, that you have been responsible for, Missy. I mean, how do you do it? What's your secret sauce?
Well, I mean, really building a team. It's never, I'm not by myself. And if I had to list every person that's been like an amazing resource of all of that, it'd be like, the longest list ever, because it's really about the team. And so for me, it's building up the right people around you and being able to make sure that you're constantly sharing. And that's like, when I talk about mentorship, it's the best, one of the best benefits of mentoring is knowing that there's other competent people around you.
Yes.
So that's, something that I'd say is like the secret sauce is building a fucking solid team and helping people achieve their potentials. And that allows you to be able to, achieve your potential or the company's potential by building people. It's literally that, it's as cheesy and as simple as that. The only way to get to that success is to build the people around you, build up the people around you to be, assets in the things that, 1, they're good at, and 2, they enjoy, because then you could keep giving opportunity and it be, a real genuine trade.
Yes. Oh, I love that sound bite. I'm going to capture that because that's, really the most important thing to talk about, but you don't hear it, it's such an ego driven industry. That's why I love having this podcast and just talking to women, because it's never, that's not what I hear is, oh, I'm the best. It's like, when I ask the question about the women that are inspiring you right now, it's like very many times they're like, I can't think of just one. So I'm going to give you like 7. Okay. And just go down the list and do it. And that's what works. That's what we're finding, when you invest $1 in a woman, you get back that $1 and then some. I mean, that's what the data is showing us, but yet the money's not flowing in that direction, or as isn't flowing as quickly, or I don't know. I'm not an analyst, but talk to a lot of people. So let me ask you my first question that I wanted to ask you. It is, tell me who's in your dream smoke circle, dead or alive?
Oh, wow.
No, 3 people.
3 people.
Yes.
Okay. Tupac.
Oh, yes.
Ruth
Illuminati.
Bader Ginsburg. And oh man.
It may help to picture yourself in the location of the smoke sesh. And then very often
I'm trying to think of my favorite, because this person I think I need to be funny. Tupac is my philosopher. RBG is my like change maker. And then I need a comedian because I need all three of those things in my smoke circle. So I'm trying to think my favorite comedian. I'd say Chris Farley.
Ah.
RBG, Chris Farley, and Tupac.
That's a near perfect smoke circle. I didn't think it was possible, but I'm like, and then I always have to disclaimer it with, I'm going to be like in the circle. I'm going to be sneaking in because
you're going to be there. Yeah.
It's a game. So I'll be recording, you know, and putting it out for the masses, right? That's my job. That's my job. Oh God, I love that. Okay. And so then the third question and the really fun question is, you know, give me some advice that you would give to your 13-year-old self. 13-year-old Nichole West.
Oh man.
It's 8th grade in case you're doing the math.
Yeah, 13-year-old me. You know, it's really funny. I guess maybe not funny, but 14-year-old me sold her first bag of weed.
So we're high-fiving 14-year-old you. Okay, we know that she's got it going on. I mean, man, maybe you didn't need any advice at 13.
13-year-old
you're
me,
special.
I know my 13-year-old self needed a lot. 13-year-old me, I would say, because I've often been, I'm willing to do it because I'm okay with failing. But I think I'd tell 13-year-old me, don't expect it so much, because I almost feel like in some situations I've like self-fulfilling prophesied myself into failing shit because I'm so comfortable with it. And so I tell people just to not get comfortable in general. And that's with like anything, because life is change. And so I would tell 13-year-old me to not be so comfortable in the idea of failure, but be willing to accept it when it does happen. But like, I almost feel like as women, we often think that like, it's not going to work out in the beginning.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I think sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
And so I tell 13-year-old me to believe that it actually will work out more. And just accept that sometimes when it doesn't, but believe that it will. Because I've done shit in a lot of things in my life being like, I'm going to give my all and I'm going to do fucking great. And this is going to be awesome while it lasts, you know, and like, I shouldn't have a while it lasts mentality.
Yeah.
I should have a, maybe this is going to go on forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even channeling that energy into right now. Like, whoa, I feel that I'm trying to like future project here because that's what makes me feel safe because I can't even control it anyway. But right now, this motherfucking shit has to get done. But it is really,
more present, to be more present.
Yeah, man, God, that's something deep to tell your 13-year-old self. But you know what? You could get that. I believe that 13-year-old Nichole West was like a silent little genius, and we would have been friends for sure.
I think so.
We would have just gotten into some trouble, but good trouble.
I think so. I really do.
So where can everybody find you and everything you're doing and all of the good Nichole West things?
So I have a website for myself. It's NicholeWest.com.
It's awesome.
Nichole, because my parents decided to be fun and spell my name different. NicholeWest.com. And then I work my day job. I'm the director of operations at a company called LB Atlantis, and we do distribution and manufacturing and direct to consumer delivery. And you can find us at lbatlantis.com. And then also Monday through Friday, I'm on a cannabis news show called the State of Cannabis News Hour. And you can find us on Clubhouse Live at 9 a.m. Pacific, or on like any of the platforms you get your podcasts on. So you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube,
All
just
the places.
all of them.
Ugh. Good. I love that. I love that you guys, that's happening, that is, it's turned into really, this podcast that people can follow every single day.
Yeah.
Again, if I need to tap in more often, I think it's just about, I turn off my notifications and I have
turn them on, back on, come see us.
I will definitely do that because, that is how I get my news, because it's not just about Texas, because if it's only Texas, then I will be very, very depressed because it's the long haul. So Patrick and I like to dip out every now and then and just go to states where it's legal adult use. Nobody's taking my information. I mean, I guess they are, whatever, but getting, living that life. Yes. And showing people that it's possible and making people wonder why it's not possible here is kind of like that thing that we really, really want to help people with. And, Texas women are very, very cool, strong people. So if anything's going to happen, it's because Texas women, and it's because of you too, Nichole West, because you inspire me. You inspire the fuck out of me. Every time I tap in and I hear your voice, I'm like, oh shit. Like,
I love you. You're so awesome.
I'm like, someone's gonna go down, someone's gonna get the truth, or we are just gonna get, enlightened. But it's always good. You never open your mouth unless it's like warranted.
Thank you.
I'm a fan. I need to make sure to subscribe though. I need to make sure to subscribe to this podcast because that'll be easier for me to follow,
Yeah,
it'll be good. Less interactive, but I'll definitely do that too.
I would really appreciate it. And if you ever get a chance to come up on stage and give your opinion, we love to hear it.
Okay, I think I have one. I think I made like an avatar once. So, awesome. But I know I did. I have one.
Oh, wait, that's right. You did. You totally
did. Came up. I mean, Texas politics, man. Tap in for that, and then everything else. It was really just an honor to hear your story, though, Nichole, from you. And so just so authentically.
Thank you so much for having me. It means so much. Yeah. I'm really glad to be able to hear your story and be a part of this too.
Yeah, it's a journey. So let's do this again, and then I'll see you on Clubhouse and everywhere else. And I will let you know when this comes out. If you'd like more, subscribe to the Feminized podcast on YouTube. Follow at Feminized with Liz Grow on Instagram. Special thanks to our sponsors, Moose Labs and Richard's Rainwater. The Feminized podcast is a Grow House Media production, created by Liz Grow, produced by Patrick Pope and Tanis Ray, with original theme music and audio mixing by Q at Q to King Productions in New Braunfels, Texas.